From there to our discussion segment. Now, the presidency has confirmed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and U.S. President Donald Trump are expected to meet in the coming days to discuss allegations of persecution of Christians in Nigeria, also called the Christian genocide claims. Now, this follows U.S. President Trump's recent remarks describing Nigeria as a disgraced country and warning of possible military intervention if the government fails to curb attacks on Christians. Now, TINUBU'S special advisor on policy communication, Daniel Bwala, said the meeting will be centered around claims of a Christian genocide, and the federal government has dismissed these genocide allegations as a mischaracterization of the country's religious and, of course, its national situation, maintaining that ongoing violence is driven by terrorism and banditry rather than religion. Now, the development has been received with mixed reactions, one would say, from different prisms, with some viewing Trump's stance as a protective gesture towards Christians, while others see it as interference in Nigeria's internal affairs. But the big question this morning is, what does the declaration of Nigeria, rather the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, mean for diplomatic ties and, of course, the reputation of Nigeria as a whole? We're joined now by Chairman Guild of Public Affairs Analysts of Nigeria, Enugu State Chapter, Dr. Ambrose Igboke, to shed more light on this. Dr. Ambrose, so good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. The topic is hot.
It's a hot topic, isn't it? So let's get right into it while it's still hot. I mean, what does this all mean? What's your appreciation of the current state of Nigeria relative to the U.S.?
Something is clear, and let's not have ambiguity about this. There is genocide against Christians in Nigeria. What is genocide? The definition of genocide is mass killing. And the mass killing is only suffered by a particular ethnic group or a particular group of people, be it along religious, cultural, or even social lines. So when there's a systemic pattern of killing of those people over the years, and things are not done to actually stem it, or as one of my bosses will say, you can make all the efforts, but if there are no results, then you have not done anything. So if a government over the years have been saying things or doing things that have not stemmed the tide, therefore, it continued. This year, the president was in Benue State, where after the massive killing and arrest, government is still, deodorizing this order with calling it farmer header clash. And I've come to say there is no clash anywhere. People are being subjugated, people are being killed, people are being wiped out, communities are being dislocated, people are being buried in mass graves. And there's a government over the years since 2019, and it continued. And the numbers are staggering. Well, Ted Cruz is saying 50,000 since 2009, but others have slightly lower figures, but it's also big figures. We are talking about above 30,000, where a country is not at war. It will surprise you that Nigeria have more casualty in terms of the dead than countries at war. There are countries like even Ukraine, countries like Sudan, many countries at war, linear war. They have even more. We have more casualty. Those of us are Nigerian. So when you now have this kind of statistics, so it's not emotional. These things are not about emotions. It's not about religion. It's not about ethnicity. It's not about whether you like the APC government or you don't like the APC government. It's not about even whether you like Tinubu or you don't like Tinubu. It's not about whether you love Nigeria or you don't love Nigeria. It's about reality. Reality check. The reality check is that the numbers are staggering. There's a Catholic World Report that was just submitted August 10 this year, and they're saying that since just the first 220 days of 2025, that an average of 325 Christians have been killed per day. What kind of figures are those things? And we have sit down, we are all nice, and then we issue press release, and then they will say we vow to bring out the perpetrators. You keep vowing since 2009, this is 2016. 16 years later, and we keep on vowing. Nothing has been done, consequentially to stop this. Just recently, they formed another ring entirely, fencing out the whole of some places in Kwara State. So these people are becoming emboldened. Things are going awry, and people are still saying that is farmer-header clash. There's no farmer-header clash. When in 2016 here in Enugu, at Ukpa where people were gathered for morning mass, were asked to gather for morning mass for peace talk, there was the people came out and they were all massacred. I saw the dead bodies brought in trucks at Bishop Shanaha Hospital in Osoka, and somebody will sit down with keypad and start churning out things because that affected them. Go to southern Kaduna, go and see what is happening there. Towns and villages are being wiped out.
I mean.
So what are we talking about?
Like
so who will say there's no genocide?
It's a dicey topic, and Nnamdi needs to come in now. But let's also put into perspective what Bayo Onanuga said of late concerning these developments.
Well, I didn't know that Bayo could be that diplomatic. I read it this morning. It was the Bayo that used to be fiery on fire.
On
Bayo
X.
this time around was very quiet.
Right, on X, he said President Bola Tinubu was well ahead of the orchestrated game unfolding in America. As he told the news service chiefs on Thursday, because that was last week, what Nigerians expect of them. No more excuses, he said. Nigerians want results. And of course, he shared the excerpt of the speech. I almost said script, the speech as well. So the news service chiefs are supposed to have been an attempt at basically foreshadowing or coming ahead of this, what he described as orchestrated game. Nnamdi, your thoughts, go ahead.
My question is this. There are those who say that it's not only Christians that are being killed. And there's the other side that say the fact that you have armed robbery in a place does not mean that there's not an epidemic of rape. The presence of another crime does not deny the presence of what you're talking about. So in your own view, do you believe that, maybe we should focus on it as the government and, some people from the Buhari government and this current government are saying that it should be framed more as a general insecurity problem and not as an attack on one particular group? Or do you agree with those who say that, no, this is an attack on Christians, that, if you've lived in any of these hotspots, you should know? And while nobody has been brought to account for killing any Christians, or if it's or any headsman for killing any farmer or any community, we have Mr. Sonny Jackson, who for about 10 years now has been in prison for killing a headsman by defending himself when the man stabbed him twice and injured his leg when he came to attack him on the farm. And people are saying, how can somebody defend? Are you saying that? Are you incentivizing people not to protect themselves? So you have all this whole potpourri of issues, and we are now in a place where we either have to agree that what we have is a general insecurity problem and say, forget this whole Christian genocide thing, or focus on the Christian genocide, and as some say, we are not allowing other security issues to also see light.
Well, there's what we call empirical studies in research. Empiricism means that you are not about what you believe. It's not about what you think. It's not about how you feel. It's about facts on ground. It's about data. So it's about analysis of trend and patterns. Okay? So it's not about whatever anybody feels. The facts on ground, when you chronicle all the killings and you want to do a ratio of whatever people that are affected, you find out that there's a systematic pattern aimed at Christian communities, because where most of this is happen are Christian communities. Even in Borno, Chibok community is a Christian community.
Yes.
A lot of all of that community go to the Plateau, down to the Benue, down to Enugu here, where things have happened, down to the Christmas church bombing, Christmas Eve bombing in Madala. Go to the one had happened in what is it called, Ondo recently.
All right, hold that thought. I think we're having a technical challenge. We'll return in just seconds. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the program, and deep apologies for that minor interruption. But we're back. We're still with Dr. Ambrose Igboke. Of course, he was responding to Nnamdi's question. Go ahead. Nnamdi, would you like to ask your question?
I'm saying my first line.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was talking about that it's not about feelings or about beliefs or about rhetorics. It's about empirical data that are available on ground. And the pattern, when you study patterns, you can derive a conclusion from patterns that are realistic, okay? And the patterns suggests that there is a systematic targeting of Christian communities across states, of Christian gatherings, of churches being bombed and all those things over the years from 2019 now for a period of 16 years. And it suggests that a lot of Christians have been killed. We have seen mass graves in Benue, Agatu, plenty times. Agatu came over and over again from 2016. It keeps repeating itself. Nothing has happened. In Plateau State, there was a time the governors threw up their arms up in surrender. They don't know what to do anymore. In Enugu State here, in 2016, our governor cried, shed tears when he saw what happened in Ukpabimimbo. You know? So these things are real. And when communities bury people in mass graves and there's government, and these things are seen in international communities, these things are seen everywhere. There was a time during the time of Governor Jonathan before he left, he brought in mercenaries to even help. At a point, the mercenaries were advancing. At a point, they were stopped. Now, there was a time they said we didn't have equipment like the Tucano jets that was refused to be sold, well paid for it, but it was refused to release because they said they didn't know how it may be used. Now it was released to us since Biden became president, Biden's tenure. What have we done with it? So it gravitated to a point, but the government keeps treating it with press statements, press releases. Press releases are not enough. People keep dying. Even this weekend, people died. You know, so when you have those kind of situation on ground, and we are talking about armed robbery, we are talking about massacres here, we are talking about genocide. So it's not that armed robbery, but you now find out that, of course, it will swallow every kind of other kind of crimes, because it is now the front burner. When we talk about something is a genocide of massacre in a month, you are seeing like thousands of people being killed. I've seen mass graves. Have you watched those mass graves?
I'm glad.
We see these videos coming up.
I'm glad you brought up this issue of Christian communities, because the argument that it's not specifically targeting Christian communities. But looking at the geography, we see that most of the attacks in Kaduna happen in Kaduna South, which is overwhelmingly and predominantly Christian. You mentioned the attack at the Catholic Church in Owo, in Ondo State.
Mandala, Sule.
Mandala. Then we have, we look at Plateau State where,
Christians.
Jos has basically been split in half. The whole Jos North Bauchi Road has been overrun. You have all the Christians have fled to areas like Rayfield, and the Yakubu Gowon Avenue seems to be an invisible demarcation in Jos town. We see even in Plateau State, and this denial, but we also have evidence of the 2018 award that Buhari himself gave to Imam Abdullahi Abubakar for saving 262 Christians in a mosque, because he didn't think that the Islamic extremists will look for them in a mosque. So we have evidence of a man receiving an award from Buhari for sheltering Christians in 2018. In Plateau State, I was still being told that maybe there's nothing like that happening here.
You say, why did the man save them? Because they were a endangered species. And he knows that the people who are wanting them will not come to that place he saved them to hit. So anybody who is denying the fact that the pattern is very evidently suggestive of the fact that there's an intentional massacre of Christians, the person is living in denial, and this person is being delusional. So, but the problem is not about, it's not what, but in doing that, you also have casualties of other religions. We have casualties. But what we are now saying that is not that Muslims that are casualties. There are even animists, traditional worshippers that are casualties. But the problem is the preponderance of the attack, the quantum and number of the sheer number of those who are victims are predominantly Christians in their thousands. And we are not at war. So why that deliberate, if it was casualties of war and it's generally war situation, you will know that, okay, you will say, okay, everybody can be a victim of war. But now when it is not targeted and it's a pattern established over 16 years, then you can start questioning these things and people can start talking about it. So government living in denial, government will not ask itself, what has the government been doing all this years?
Let's look at a tweet by U.S. President Donald Trump that has set tongues wagging. Now, the tweet he shared on X reads, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country Guns are blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast. Now, lots of stakeholders from the foreign scene have come out to say that we should not take the words of U.S. President Trump lightly. Dr. Ambrose, what would happen if military troops from the United States drop down, land in the Federal Republic of Nigeria to fight these armed groups?
I was telling my neighbor that if that happens, that Benue is very close. They will fly over Enugu, But I'm saying that we should not allow it to escalate. I think Donald Trump is just frustrated that, okay, they have released the Tucano jets. We have given you all the military support and backing you said you needed. We have been giving you technologies, the trainings, and all those things. This thing is still going on. Why? And when you raise a country to CPs, a country of particular concern, the next stage after that is to declare the country a terrorist state. And once you declare a country a terrorist state, then America, who are giving itself the role of the global policing, can just come and, Americans do these things and there are no consequences. They have went into different countries. George Bush Jr. woke up one day called Iran, Iraq, and then one other country as axis of evil. And they rolled in tanks.
And Afghanistan.
And started moving. They have moved into Vietnam, they have moved to Afghanistan, they have moved into different places. They went after Augusto Pinochet in Chile. They are now after Venezuela, Venezuela president, Maduro, bombing up all the. So Americans seem untouchable. They can do anything and get away with it. So people who are saying that they cannot attack Nigeria, they should not say that, because America have done so many other more heinous things and got away with it. So what we should do now, I'm glad that Boya came, the spokesman came to say, oh, they are already trying to secure, they have secured an appointment to have a meeting with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our president, and the American president. Some of those things are also like stern warning to say, do something. It may not be immediate, but like, do something. If you don't do something, we will do something on your behalf. And that's what we talked about. Where were the mercenaries that were told that came in that time that helped us? So if the American government feels that Nigerian government is not doing what to do in the Sahel, because this is affecting the Sahel region, and they come in and do, but we pray that Americans don't come in. We pray we'll get our acts together before that, because examples of countries that went into are not getting it right. For example, Libya,
Syria,
Afghanistan, all those places.
Could it be guilty conscience? Because we understand that there are two sets of American governments. You have Republican governments and Democrat governments, and they go in and they have one common interest, but when they come in, they try to undo and create a new area to enter. So we know that the Republicans are always interested in entering the Middle East. We saw the Obama administration were the ones who entered Africa, entered Libya, the destabilization. Maybe it's guilty conscience, who knows? But coming to this point, you mentioned of the stern warning and getting our act rights. There's a possibility that they might not meet President Trump, but meet J.D. Vance, who we know has no filter and no real regard for anybody. Do you think that, Nigeria will go into that meeting and come out, maybe taking the right messaging or with any sense of self-pride and address their issue? Or do you think they're going to come out even more resolved to not be, quote-unquote, bullied by any foreign power?
But America can bully anybody. Global reality, America can bully you and deal with you. And you don't have, Nigeria, for example, has no say, has no resistance to American bully. So the first thing you should do as a nation is not to enter America's trap by trying to do the right thing. For example, we don't have a United States ambassador. We don't have ambassadors. So even if America wants to talk to Nigeria, who do they talk to? All right. There in Washington.
Dr. Ambrose.
So many other countries too, we don't have ambassadors. So what do we now? That is even one of the minuses where we can't even talk to anybody.
I like that you mentioned ambassadors, because many Nigerians have been calling on presidents of Nigeria to go ahead and send ambassadors to try to reconcile this situation, right?
Where are the ambassadors?
That's the big question.
They're not been appointed. So, and that is a big vacuum. in diplomatic relationships, because when you have that, for example, you can have some people, you can lobby some groups in the Congress and say, okay, can we tone this down? Can you give us more time? Nobody's lobbying for us. Nobody's speaking on our behalf.
Is Nigeria trapped, in your view? Is Nigeria trapped?
Well, for now, Nigeria is trapped in its own delusion. Nigeria is trapped in its own inactiveness. Nigeria is trapped in its own inertia. Nigeria is trapped in its own pretenses that these things are not. That is why the thought if. Remember when Tinubu went to Benue sometime this year? They thought if, when he was talking about, still talking about header farmer clash, when people are being wiped out, and the thought if told him, okay, we are not doing header farmer clash here. We are down. People, we are being killed. We are being wiped out. We are not clashing with anybody. We don't even have what it takes to clash. We are just farmers here. People will come with RPGs and all kinds of sophisticated weapons, wipe our community, and government will say it's header farmer clash.
What is going on again with the fact that there have been complaints that these so-called headers have AK-47s, AR-15s, M16s, all sorts of sophisticated weapons. They have heavier artillery, they have armor-piercing rounds, they have RPGs, headers. And then we also hear, like recently in Kwara, where the community got word, this is from the community now, that they were going to be attacked. And the police, the military came and disarmed the community.
Yeah, these people are not headers.
Within the next day, they were attacked and
these people are not. These people carrying these weapons are not headers.
So I mean, this idea of security agencies seemingly ready to clamp down on communities with arms, but never able to protect them from these people that slaughter them, and never able to catch these people.
America sees all these things you talk about. Every other country also that is serious has intel on all these things.
Dr. Ambrose, we have to...
And so when they now react this way, and our government is thinking they are not talking out of the blue. Our government know they have intel on all this. And because of that, when I grew up in Kwara State, to part of Kwara State, and we used to have either coming out to sell kunu and all those holding their stick. These guys are terrorists imported from the Sahel.
Just a quick crossover now. We're going to cross over to Lagos, where we're joined virtually by Victoria Uwadoka, who is the convener, Pivot Nigeria, to lend her views on the emerging reputational challenge that Nigeria could be facing as a result of this allegation of Christian genocide. Thank you so much, Mrs. Uwadoka, for joining us on the show this morning. Pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you.
All right. I mean, you can see that it's a heated conversation. I mean, we could have gotten to you earlier, but just your brief reaction. You have been at the fore of pursuing a sustainable, good reputation for Nigeria. I mean, we have engaged on that on at least 2 occasions on the morning show through your platform, Pivot Nigeria. What's your reaction to this accusation by the U.S. President Trump against Nigeria, even threatening military action, declaring and designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern? Do you see this affecting us in many ways, our reputation?
Yes, thank you, Natalie, and I hope that you can hear me.
Loud and clear, go ahead.
Awesome. So yes, every label has an impact, and every story that is told about us has an impact. So will that have an impact? Yes. Labeling us as a country of particular concern because of religious intolerance, or the very strong words that were used like genocide and all of that, has a very strong implication when it comes to our reputation. And this is a time where Nigeria needs to really build up its own reputation more than ever. And these labels might not be the solution to the violence or to the challenges that they are trying to address. But the thing is that this has the potential to deepen the conflict within the neighborhoods. It also has the potential to limit our access to opportunities and to have entry into other countries. And maybe more sanctions or punitive measures would come in. And that is detrimental to the slow progress that we're already making in rebuilding our economy. So, my sentiment about that is very strongly that, this is a clear evidence of where we're not telling our own story, where we're not owning our own story, when we're not telling what is happening, when we're not really showcasing what is happening, and we're ready and we're reacting. That is a challenge that we have when it comes to this. So yes, very huge reputational challenges, not just externally, but internally as well.
All right, final question. While we don't have any official data from official authorities about these claims of genocide, we don't have the figures. Do you view this as genocide, judging by the pockets of information that you may have been exposed to at one time or the other?
So there hasn't been any official or legal, whether it's external or internal, data or pronouncement on a genocide, because that's a serious thing. Is there conflict? Yes. Is there evidence of killings of, a particular set of people continually, regularly? I heard the earlier speakers talking about Benue and all of that, and Southern Kaduna and all that. These are recurrent incidences. Now, is there genocide? We have not had any official pronouncement about a genocide. So I cannot categorically tell you that there is a genocide or there is not a genocide, because all these things are based on gathering the evidence, having a clear investigation, making that transparent, putting out the data, very strong data, because without data, you're just talking, right? Now, I've heard some of the conversations say, okay, this is why they're doing it, or there's no data, the data are not congruent and all of that. But where is our own data? What have we done with our own data? Of course, the government of Nigeria has come out sometimes, even make press releases and pronouncements to say there's been conflict, and the president has said way back in 2023 that there's zero tolerance for these killings. But what have we done after that? We have not put out any information out there. You and I don't have any data that is concrete, that is clear, that we can, depend on to say, right, oh yes, this is happening, or yes, it's not happening. And that's a challenge in itself. Right. I think that we need to articulate our messaging and really be intentional about positioning what we're doing. Yes, if there's a conflict, this is what we're doing about it. We need to put it out there. If you think about the days of COVID, when Lagos became a poster child, Lagos did not become a poster child just because we were passing information or responding to information. It was intentional, it was daily, it was consistent, it was serious. And that's something that we need to do. Because every action or inaction is actually telling a story. So the data that they have, where they get it from, who are their informants? They're telling the stories, they're getting information that we are not providing anything to really counter and counter seriously. So I think that it's about time.
Mrs. Wadoka, you've made some valuable points on the program today. Of course, we're going to look into those issues that you've raised. Thank you once again. And Nnamdi, what's your reaction? Go ahead.
I mean, I'm happy to mention information, but there's something we're not all talking about, which is the messaging. Up until the U.S. designated us a country of particular concern, we've been calling them bandits. Recently, the language has reverted back to terrorists. All of a sudden, we remember that they are terrorists. We're talking of farmer header clashes in places where people come into a community, not from that village, not from that state, come in, destroy people's crops, kill them, murder them, burn their houses, behead them. That's not a clash. If you and I throw blows with each other, that's a clash. If I'm bending down, writing, and you hit my head at the back from a stick, you say we had a fight. That's not a fight. So the messaging has been a problem. And, I always wonder, what did they think was going to happen eventually when the messaging seems skewed? We had the death of Deborah for blasphemy. We had the woman who complained that Deborah was being treated badly. And she was arrested in Bauchi for saying Deborah's killing was wrong. Atiku Abubakar, a former vice president and perennial presidential candidate, posted a tweet condemning Deborah and brought it down after some pressure. We saw that. So we've seen these things happen over and over again. And the question is, did we think that with all this messaging, even if we bring out information every day, that we are on the battlefield challenging this, the daily life aspect of it, is that messaging not enough to keep Nigeria in the bad books of the global community?
Well, that is what we are. That is why we are getting that CPC, that country of particular concern tag on us, and which is one step notch to being declared a terrorist state. Because what is happening is terrorists have invaded Nigeria and are killing Nigerian citizens with glee, and we seem not to have a solution to it. Rather, we try to, generalize it with all kinds of inanities, phrases, and catchphrases, header farmer clash. How can it be header farmer clash? And people have been crying about this. I disagree with Madam from Lagos that said there are no data. There are data. You will say there are no data from Nigerian government, but there are data. People have been collating systematically the numbers of those being killed, chronicled. many groups, many NGOs, many CSOs have chronicled these killings from community to community, gathering data, how many people that were killed. So there are data. Nobody should deceive us that there are no data. There are clear data, and it is the government that refuses to come up with their own data, because if they come up with their data, it will indict it. The data will indict government. So government have been very quiet about it. But instead of government to work with those CSO and see how to really bring this thing down, the optics are not nice, because we ourselves, our optics we are giving to the international community is not. But we should try as much as possible to ensure that we don't escalate this problem we have with the United States, this challenge, and make sure that the military should be energized to do what it ought to do. And if they need assistance from the United States, let them bring it, of course. We will gladly have it to wipe out because these terrorists are not ghosts. They have GPS location. They use technology. They can pinpoint them. They know where they are coming from. They know their routes. So why can't they be wiped out? So if they need the help of the United States of America to do that, let the Nigerian government go and negotiate with it. But let's stop this grandstanding or delusion that we find ourselves doing right now.
All right, Dr. Ambrose, thank you so much. I mean, it's a long week ahead and so many questions still remain. Will President Bola Ahmed Tinubu arrive in the United States? Or if the President of the United States were to visit Nigeria, would President Tinubu have the data to present to him? Would they compute the data and show the U.S. President
Ted Cruz has already presented.
Okay, and is it a case of selective intervention, as some Islamic groups are saying in Nigeria right now? We'll continue to follow up on this conversation. Of course, much later in the week, we'll bring you those fresh reactions and perspectives. Dr. Ambrose, thank you once again. I know you have a busy day ahead, so we'll let you go.
Thank you for having me.
The morning show returns, and when we come back, we'll be taking a snippet, of course, just taking a look at the media parley with the Anambra State governor that held yesterday, getting a swift reaction. Of course, in subsequent bulletins, we'll have a more robust report on that. I'll be looking at some trends that made the news in the coal city at the weekend. Stay tuned.